Welcome back to episode 4 of the Fit Founder series, where we talk about how health, fitness, and wellness actually is a productivity hack when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. Today I'm talking with Lauren Fields, the owner and CEO of Fieldswell. After a traumatic brain injury, she turned that adversity into fuel. She did a TED Talk, she started a podcast, and she also opened up her own wellness sanctuary. Lauren's gonna share how her mindset, her daily rituals, and her signature Fieldswell Formula help her to stay creative and disciplined while growing a thriving business.
Lauren, thank you so much for being on the Fit Founder series. I appreciate you being here. For those of the viewers who don't know you, can you please introduce yourself and what your business is?
Sure, Amanda, thank you so much for having me. To our audience, my name is Lauren Fields. I am the founder and host of Fieldswell, which I believe is your destination for transformation. We are sitting here in our wellness sanctuary in Rancho Santa Fe, California, and I'm so honored to have you with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Can you please share your story and actually what sparked this whole concept, this whole journey? What was the thing that happened to you that kind of got you on this road of wanting to create this facility and wanting to create this whole business?
Sure. So I grew up actually right in this village in San Diego, and I grew up riding horses. It was my passion, like end all be all. I was at the stable all day, every day. At one point I was even homeschooled because I loved riding so much and just wanted to become the best that I could be. And I believe riding is what taught me dedication, grit, resilience. It taught me how to become a champion. And when I was 14 years old, I was in a really bad horse accident. I was life-flighted into a coma and woke up with a traumatic brain injury. And I had no idea at the time what that meant. All I wanted to do was act like nothing had happened because I was really uncomfortable with the reality that I'd had a brain injury, was in a coma, and that a lot of people were concerned about my well-being. And when you're 14 years old, like the weight of that was really heavy to carry, and I just wanted to sweep it under the rug. And the doctors had limiting beliefs about my future in that moment. May struggle with memory retention, may have to relearn how to speak, may have difficulty walking, like all these things. And I was like, how can you predict that as I'm laying in the hospital bed? But of course they just wanted to tell my parents like the possibility of what could happen after an accident like that. There was a blood spot on my brain where I hit the ground, and due to that they weren't sure what the effects would be. And so over time, neurological symptoms developed from that incident, nerve damage from the accident. And so having different hospital visits, having different surgeries to try and correct that nerve damage. And that's when I was like, I need to find something to stabilize myself. And that's when I did a deep dive into healing, into personal growth, into self-love. And that's when my wellness practice really started. And there were times during that period where like I was a victim mindset, woe is me, why me, like why am I having to go through this? And then eventually I realized like how can I use what I've been through to help others? And that has been this beautiful transformation, which now exists as a podcast, a wellness center, me doing public speaking and coaching individuals to really achieve their highest level of success, whatever that means for you. But I believe that all begins with feeling well in your body.
So that happened to you when you were 14, right? From 14 years old, obviously you're not starting a business like this at 14 or 15 years old. What was the journey from there? After your recovery, did you know that you wanted to take that experience and everything that you went through and the things that had healed you? Did you know at that moment or somewhere in that time frame that like this is what you need to help other people with?
For context, I'm 32 years old now. So that was a very condensed version of my story. We opened our wellness sanctuary here 4 or 5 months ago. But I believe that I knew that I wanted to be a coach and I wanted to help people from the second I graduated college. Like I believed that I knew. I studied business undergrad and economics, and then I moved to New York City, worked in real estate and hospitality because I had major imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to be a coach? Who am I to help people? And so then it took me really, I feel like a decade from knowing to actually seeing the big sprouts above the ground. Like seeds were being planted from young 20s from different coaching certifications, different like yoga teacher training, Pilates teacher training, health and wellness coaching, to then a master's in psychology, to then like speaking on TEDx stage, to starting the podcast, to taking on clients, to now opening the sanctuary. So it's been what was a slow progression into like a really quick progression. But I believe that I knew for a while, and it wasn't right after. I was so young, and I didn't do a lot of therapy or inner work right after. And so I didn't know right away. I was 14. And looking back, I'm like, I feel like the best way to heal is to start speaking about what you've been through and to help others. Like, that's what really helped me heal. But it took me time and courage to be able to do that.
So you've done a lot of things in your life. You've done a TED Talk. You have now a festival where you put together community events. You have a podcast. How have the wellness practices that you have done throughout the years, because I know that when you were 14 years old, you had that experience, and there's a lot of things that you were doing to help you recover. How did those things kind of incorporate into business?
Sure.
So when you started going to school, you moved to New York, you're doing real estate, you're doing all these things. How did those wellness practices continue to help you to excel in the things that you were doing?
I believe feeling well is the gateway to transformation, the gateway to peak performance. And so when I look at my trajectory, I believe it has been my routines, my dedication to wellness, to fitness, to mindset that have enabled me to build what I've built. And what I see now is like this personal wellness journey of mine, which was once like a personal wellness journey, like of feeling well, Fieldswell, is now something that we are building a community around. And we had our Fieldswell Festival a month ago here in San Diego. And when that was a sold out room and event, I was like, oh my gosh, Amanda, so like what?
That's so cool.
You know, like
sold out.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So that was a really big, exciting moment. And people will make excuses for why they don't have time to commit to their own well-being. The best investment you can make is in yourself.
100%.
And when you feel really well and you have more energy, you have more energy to create, you have more energy to do the things that you like to do, you have more energy to give to the relationships that nourish you. So for me, it's like you're only cheating yourself when you're not prioritizing your own well-being. So I wanted to build a life around that. I wanted to build a business around feeling well, because I know that will lead to like a really incredible life for me to live. And I want to like share with everyone, because I want to ensure I stay dedicated to it.
Something that I see happening is very interesting is like you'll see offices that put out bad food, right? Like it's cheap, it's easy, donuts, chips, cookies, things like that. And even in our school systems, you'll see schools provide, food to these kids that are processed foods. They have artificial dyes, they have tons of carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, and then they're wondering why kids can't stay focused, or even adults are underperforming in their jobs, why they can't concentrate, why they can't perform, why they're not increasing in their numbers. And I think it's a big reflection on the things that they're eating, right? Or the things that are being provided for them in their workspaces, in their work areas. So for me, I know that there's a direct correlation between the things that I'm consuming, the things that I'm eating, and then my performance. Am I clear? Am I thriving? Am I creative? And I know that if I don't eat properly, or if I don't take care of myself, then it's going to affect me as a business owner and everything that I do, with even how I serve my clients. So for you, what wellness practices do you use, and what are some of the things that you are not non-negotiables for you, but things that you're pretty strict on because you know that it's going to have a direct impact on you in business?
Sure. We're talking about nutrition here. Let's just focus on that for a second. I lived in London during my college experience, and I worked for Jamie Oliver, a celebrity chef. And at the time I was doing marketing for him, and program we were working on was his Food for Schools program, where he was putting gardens in the schools so that kids could learn what it meant to eat whole food, because we're not taught, and for some reason this is missed in the education system, along with mindset principles, along with coping strategies. Like, we don't learn about that in the general education system. Maybe now we do, but I don't remember learning about it. And so focusing on nutrition. There are neurotransmitters from our gut that communicate to our brain, and those neurotransmitters are coming from the food that we're eating. So when we're eating junk, it's sending mixed signals to our brain, you know? Like, it's as simple as that. Like, what you eat affects how you think. And so for me, I studied at IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, as a health coach.
Me too.
Look at that. I loved IIN. It really taught me how to nourish myself from the inside out. And so for me, I believe environment is so important. So in relation to like your kitchen, what's in the cupboards, what's in the fridge, like, is it what you want to be putting in your body? Because if you have those chips in there, I'll freaking go for those chips if they're there. But if they're not there and I have, say, almonds or cashews or what have you, you know, I'll make a better choice. And so it's really setting myself up for success. But I love to go to the farmer's market every Sunday. I love to get fresh produce on Sundays and like ensure my kitchen and my environment reflects that.
If I remember correctly from school, it's the gut-brain axis, right? So the things that we eat affect the way that we think, but also the things that we think affect the way that we feel.
Oh yeah.
Right? So it's like, what comes first? Is it the food
or
is it the thoughts?
Yeah, literally.
Or is it both?
Okay, so I don't know. Right now, I'm so big on mindset. Like, I have this Fieldswell formula for transformation, and the first pillar is frame of mind, because I think a lot of us enable our thoughts to run on autopilot, and the sooner you can realize you're not the thoughts, you're the one noticing, and you can start to be more intentional about your own thinking patterns, everything will change for you. It's very visible to me when a client comes in and they're talking about themselves very negatively and very poorly. I like to say, you are always listening. You're hearing to what you're saying. You're hearing what you're saying about yourself, and that becomes your identity. So how can we rewire that thinking? Maybe it's through affirmations, maybe it's through visualizations, maybe it's through cognitive restructuring, like whatever it may be. What's the process we can have for that? Because thoughts are so powerful, and this relationship we have with ourselves is so powerful, and that's a lot of what we're hitting on here, Amanda. But like, back to the non-negotiables, one of the biggest changes for me has been time away from technology, which people like, they're like, okay, you're, you know, as an entrepreneur, as someone building a startup, that sounds like time away from technology. Like, how? Like, work 24/7? Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so much more productive when I get a great night's sleep. So my phone sleeps in the kitchen. I have at least 12 hours away from technology, and that has given me so much time back in my life. My sleep is so important to me. I have my Oura ring here, and after I get a 90+ sleep score, I'm ready to freaking conquer the day. Like, watch out, you know? Watch out. I believe sleep is one of the biggest longevity hacks. There are studies now that show that it can lead to, if you don't get good night's sleep, it can lead to dementia and things like that. So I think it's so important to prioritize your well-being. There are so many ways you can do that. The foundation, the good night's sleep, the daily movement, even if it's like a walk in nature, the nutrition, and then the biggest one for me lately has been like following your calling, taking action towards your goals.
Yeah, the things you're mentioning, like the sleep, the time away from the phone, like spending time in nature. Some people will say like, hustle. There's not enough time in the day to take time out to do those things, right? And I completely agree with you. I can be so much more effective in my work if I take the time to do those things, right? To get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night it's a productivity hack.
It is.
Actually. Yeah. I think like when I started business, I was sleeping less, thinking that I would get more done. But then those hours that I could be working, I actually wasn't effective in the work. So I was like, I might as well have just slept for those extra, 2 to 3 hours and then been more productive in the waking hours, right? So it all kind of like evens out, but I completely agree with you.
So Ariana Huffington of Huffington Post and now Thrive, a big wellness brand, I don't know if it's brand is the right word, marketplace,
I think, right?
So she reached burnout and she gave a TED talk and she says, I slept my way to the top. As in, she started prioritizing her sleep and reached like extreme levels of success because she felt so much better after
I like that.
Recovering from burnout.
I'm going to take that.
By prioritizing her sleep. She slept her way to the top. I'm like, yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I also say that I've failed my way to the top. That's another like spin off of that one, of just kind of like going in a different direction. But I also know that something that you talk about a lot is taking adversity and actually using that. And I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but I think so many people are scared to fail. But failure like is the answer of like the faster you fail, the more you fail, the faster you grow.
And I don't know about like this word failure, because it's like failing to me is not trying. So like if you tried, you're in the arena, I don't think that's failing. Like if it doesn't go as planned, you get information. So is that really failing?
I think failing or at least I think of failing like I didn't accomplish the thing, but in actuality I just learned. But if I'm going for something and I didn't reach it, I didn't hit it, then I might think of it as failure. But I get your point.
And maybe that's just you didn't reach it in that timeline you allotted. Like that information will help you do better next time.
So let's jump into what it is that you do. I know that you had a TED Talk around adversity and how that has helped you in life, right? There's a lot of adversity that I've gone through, and we haven't had a chance to talk about that, but would love to hear a little bit about your TED Talk where you talk about adversity.
So one thing I want to say, because this has really come to me lately, is like when you get brought to your knees or you face adversity, you have 3 options. You can stay there. You can stay on your knees.
I feel like I'm in the TED Talk right now.
You can stay there. You can self-destruct and go lower. Or you can rebuild. Like those are the 3 options as I see them. So what's it going to be? And I've always chosen to rebuild. And everyone has that option. And I believe that means having a growth mindset where you see possibilities. You believe that you can learn from this experience. You can improve your skill set or your life if you continue to move forward. And so I've always been an optimist. I've always believed in pushing myself or envisioning a next level of what I'd like to achieve or go and do. And so this talk was about that horse accident and how that accident showed me how to turn my adversity into my advantage. And that accident is my North Star. And so I'm so grateful for that moment because it connected me with my passion and my purpose. I realized I had a story that I felt called to share. I realized that I had people that I could help based on what I learned from that moment. And I could have looked at that in a myriad of ways, but that's how I've chosen to see it. And I believe it's been the greatest gift for me because I feel so grateful to be alive after that I'm like, feel like I'm on borrowed time now. You know what I mean? Like each day is a miracle. None of us are guaranteed a tomorrow. And so how can we make the most of this day? And what is the work that we need to do internally to ensure we can show up as the best version of ourselves?
So at 14 years old, did you have that perspective at that time, or did that come later? Was that already naturally your perspective, or was that something that you learned later, or something that someone had maybe given you a different perspective to think that way?
Sure. I have always been a go-getter. I've always believed I can achieve anything I set my mind to. Like when I started riding at 6 years old, I was hooked and I was committed to giving it my all. I was committed to always showing up, doing the hard work, improving my skill, and that's always been with me. Like I've always been a very dedicated and focused person. I believe more of the softness came after that accident because I didn't really feel like I needed help before that moment. And once I needed help and watched like community come together and help me heal, that I think opened me and softened me and made me a more loving person and someone who is able to really care for and help others.
So for me and you, I think we're naturally that way, right? But I think that not all people have that mindset as their default. So for someone like yourself, you're very successful in business. You're very successful and accomplished in many things in your life, which I think that having that mindset is probably why you're so successful in life and the things that you've done, right? But for the person that doesn't naturally have that mindset, what kind of things do you suggest that someone do to change their mindset?
What are they changing their mindset from?
So my perspective is it doesn't matter what happens to you, it matters how you respond, right? It doesn't matter what happens, it matters how we respond to the things. Some people don't have that perspective. It's, I'm a victim, it's not my fault, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't even believe I can get through this. I don't know how to get through this. More of just like, I don't know, versus this happened. I'm going to take control of my freaking life, and I'm just going to do what I got to do. And I believe in the best outcome possible, right?
Yeah. So what I hear with like the victim mentality, right? Like the fixed mindset is like the me, woe is me. Like, how can you shift the lens and make it more about how you can help others and focus of being of service? That has been something that totally changed the game for me, because it's easy to put this shell on and feel bad for yourself. But what's that going to do? Is that going to help you get to where you want to go? And what I tell my clients is focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And when you're a victim, you're continuously focusing on what you don't want. Guess what you're going to experience? More of what you don't want. So it's like the Rumi quote. It's like, why are you sitting inside the prison cell when the door's wide open? And that's a mindset shift away for you, is to start focusing on what you want. What does your ideal future look like? Who do you want to be spending time with? Where do you want to be spending your time? How do you want to feel? Because whatever that victim mindset is bringing you, that's not working for you right now. That's why we're sitting here. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, but you can't make someone change. They have to want to do the work.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and end this episode with a question from Daily Dopamine. So do you want a deeper, or a deepest question?
Deepest. Wow, I don't know what I just signed up for, guys. I've never looked at any of these questions. Facing fears is part of the journey. Is there a fear or insecurity that you think might be standing in the way of your dreams? So recently, a couple of my mentors have asked me to send them, like, once all of these visions I have for what I'm creating, once they're built out, what does that look like? Like the end goal, essentially. Like, how will I know once mission is complete? And I can see the next like 5 to 10 year vision, but I know that if we continue building at the pace we're building, I'm like, what will this look like in 20, 30, 40 years? And there's part of that scares me. That number one, I'm not able to see that far into the future. But now that I'm so deep in building this business, I'm like, I can't imagine ever slowing it down. And so there's part of me as someone who is obsessed with personal development, obsessed with holding myself to a really high standard. I almost believe that can be like its own form of like a blessing and a curse, because you're so in it and you believe in it so much that you just want to be better. And like, that is something that scares me a little bit. I don't know if that answers the question. Standing in the way of my dreams. That's not standing in the way. I think my dreams, almost the grandiosity of them sometimes scares me, that I downplay them a little bit. So that downplaying might be getting in my own way.
If you want to take a picture of that card and sit on it a little bit longer.
The fear or the insecurity would be that my dreams are too big.
What a good one. What a good one to have though, right? Amazing. Lauren, thank you so much for this interview. I truly appreciate it. There's so many good things that we talked about, and we could probably talk for hours.
We could.
Yeah, definitely.
Fact.
Definitely. Where can people find you?
Sure. I'm most active on Instagram. It's my name, Lauren Fields. You can tune into the Fieldswell podcast. You can visit us at fieldswell.com, or you can come see us in person here at the Fieldswell Wellness Sanctuary.
And the next time she has an event, make sure you sign up, because it will get sold out.
Oh, yeah. Act quick. Thank you, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.